hey, by the way, you're going to be the featured fight on the main card on your first fight in the UFC that you just took 2 weeks ago.
Super crazy. I went back to who I was when I first got out of prison, when nobody believed in me. I didn't have anything, and I was just an ex-convict that was trying to be something different. You know what I'm saying? Nobody gives a shit, dude. You're only as good as your last fight, and you can screw this up.
What's up, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Adaptive Leaders Podcast. Today, we have a first on this podcast. I've got two special guests, not just one, but two. We've got, and one of our guests is actually a repeat. So, interesting guests. We're here in Las Vegas, away from Utah, and we've got Mitch Ramirez back for the second time, and his lovely girlfriend, Cynthia Calvillo. What's up, guys? Thanks for coming on the podcast.
Happy to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Happy to be back.
Yeah.
Sweet. So I want to introduce my audience to you, Cynthia. I think your story is phenomenal. Tell us a little bit about your background.
I'm originally from San Jose, California. I'm first generation here in the U.S. My parents are from Mexico. I am the youngest of four and didn't grow up in the best neighborhood, probably in Eastside San Jose. It was a little rough there. Like, you definitely grow up with like a chip in your shoulder. And I somehow, being in a bad relationship when I was in high school, just like not having maybe the best like guidance, ultimately led me into fighting, and I can, get into it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah, I somehow made it to become a professional fighter, which I never thought that I would have. My parents definitely didn't think that I was going to get to that. They thought I was a little bit crazy. Thought I was going through a phase, I was going through like a really hard time in my life. And they're like, dude, just get it out of your system. Whatever you need to do, just get it out of your system. And lo and behold, it took me all the way to the UFC. So I was like, definitely, I've been living the dream for the last like couple years, beyond my wildest dream. And it all just started with me just trying to get myself into a better place, trying to kind of like save me. I would definitely say that fighting saved my life. It is my therapy, until this day.
Yeah.
And so I'm so grateful, and I feel blessed every day that I get to, train, and I still get to do this to this day.
And you've been a pro fighter for how many years?
I've been a pro fighter now for about 7.5 years. Yeah.
And would you say that you were a trailblazer in the sport, in the UFC, like for the women's division?
Oh yeah, I mean, absolutely. I was probably the second generation in the strawweight division. That in itself was so crazy. I mean, it was a long journey to become a professional. I had like I had injuries where I had to sit out for like 3 years one time before I tried to make my pro debut. And I'm telling you, everybody, the doctors, my parents, they're like, dude, time is passing you by. You started the sport late and you keep getting injured. I was like, you haven't even made your pro debut. I was like, I don't know what you're doing here, like you might be wasting your time. But I said, F you.
Yeah.
I know inside of my heart that this is where I belong and I can do this.
Yeah.
So I made my professional debut, and within 6 months I got into the UFC, which is unheard of.
Right.
And
Super crazy.
and when you get into, I got into UFC with minimal experience compared to other professionals. And on top of that, like, I got the call on 2 weeks notice on Valentine's Day. I was working at the Cheesecake Factory and I just like remember like, man, like, dude, I'm really not looking forward to this day. I don't even have a boyfriend. Then I got to deal with all these girls that are out there wine and dine, everybody in a bad mood. I was just like, whatever, I got to do this. And as I was driving to work, I got a DM on Instagram from the UFC matchmaker, which I thought, I was like, dude, that has to be a fake account. Like, there's no way.
Right.
There's no way that the matchmaker is going to hit you up on Instagram. You normally
It's a DM. It's
no,
like-
yeah, no, they're gonna hit up your manager because that's what you need. They hit up your manager and see, if you're available. No, I got this message on freaking Instagram, and he's like, "Do you want to fight in 2 weeks' notice against so and so?" And I was like, "Yes, yes, yes, yes. I hope this is true." Sorry, excuse my language.
Oh no, you're good. You're good.
And
Podcast, huh?
Yeah, just express yourself. It doesn't even matter.
he's like, "All right, well, it's a small possibility." He's like, "We have a couple options." He's like, "I'll let you know by tomorrow." And I started driving the wrong way to work, dude. I started going to the gym because I just got so stoked, and I was like, oh shit, I got to go to work. I still have to, this is a small possibility. But the entire time I'm like working there and giving like I was a bus girl and I was a host. So I was cleaning after people. I didn't want to deal with anybody's shit that day, you know, on Valentine's Day. Like by the end of the shift, Sean Shelby hit me up to do Instagram again. And he's like, the fight's yours. And I was just like, I was mind blown. I was like, dude, I just made my professional debut
That's so cool.
5 months ago.
Yeah.
And now they're asking me if I want to fight like through Instagram. Like I've never heard of that before in my life. It was true, you know. The next day I got the email for the contract, and I fought 2 weeks later. That's a crazy story in itself too.
Won that fight, then took another fight.
Yeah, but even like the first fight, let me tell you though.
Okay.
Even I showed up 2 weeks, 2 weeks notice, made the weight. I was supposed to be the first fight on the prelims, on Fight Pass prelims. So nobody really sees these fights. Like Dana White's not even in the arena yet. It was on the fight card. It was UFC 209, and Khabib was supposed to fight Ferguson. Khabib got sick, and so they're like, "Oh, what fight are they going to put in the main card? Surely they wouldn't put a debuter on the main card. They're going to put some other buddy that has other experience in the UFC in the main card, like from the prelims."
Yeah.
No, they said, hey, by the way, you're going to be the featured fight on the main card on your first fight in the UFC that you just took 2 weeks ago.
That is
super crazy.
Wild.
Went in there, freaking killed the girl in the first round, had one of the best performances of my life. Dana was just like, what the hell? And Dana took, to my liking. And then he was like really excited about me. Calls me a week after my fight. Hey, do you want to fight in the next pay-per-view in 3 weeks in UFC 210?
Oh, damn.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's go. I went in there, got another finish. And then my following fight was a couple months later in the summer, fought number 15 in her backyard in Scotland, won that fight. Within being 10 months of professional, I was ranked number 9 in the world. Like, that is unheard of.
Top 10.
Listen, I've heard this story many times, and you can't tell I'm still smiling like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Every time she tells it, it's just... From a professional standpoint of somebody that isn't her, and for those that aren't big fight fans who don't fully understand the sport, that's insane. Like, that's crazy. Like, it almost sounds like it almost doesn't sound like a story I would believe almost. Like, it's that crazy.
No, I mean,
sure.
Hopefully one day. But honestly, like,
incredible story.
Yeah,
it's just like you go from a position where like I quit my job. I'm from in San Jose. I moved to Sacramento, and when I told my parents I'm quitting my job to go be a professional fighter, they're like, yeah, no, they were not happy at all, but they were gonna support me, and like I never asked them for help financially either, one way or another. I figured it out, but like I spent 3 years in Sacramento before I could make my professional debut because I kept getting injured, like same injury over and over. I broke my forearm, broke it again, broke it and broke it again.
Hold on, you can't skip over that because that is this is like a level of grit, persistence, and the greats call it obsession, right?
Oh yeah,
because you didn't break your arm once, twice. You said 3 times to get to the next level,
to become professional and to get to where I knew where I belong.
Where does that come from?
I just made a commitment with myself. I made a commitment with myself that no matter what, that like I realize that I'm really good at something and it's going to be hard no matter what. Whatever you decide to choose in life, you know what I mean? If you want to work at a bank, whatever, you might as well have the bad days chasing the things that you're really good at and that you love.
Yeah.
And I just knew that like no matter what, even if I didn't go there, like the type of person, the type of commitment and discipline and grittiness that it takes to get to that level, like the type of growth that you get from it, like you can't help but like understand that you're going to be better off trying and putting everything in your heart and soul into something than settling on something else and having miserable days doing on something you settled on. I started off late. I started at the age of 23. I had no prior athletic like experience or anything like that. And I'm over here like competing against people that have been training their whole freaking life, and it's just mentality and it's heart. And I just knew no matter what, it's like one of the sayings that say, like hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. There's a bunch of times where like sometimes like I didn't know the credentials or the experience that some of my training partners had, and I would just go out there with my heart and I said, dude, I'm just gonna like I'm just gonna impose myself and just have heart and just keep moving forward, and then like have the best of them and like win these rounds, and then like later find out I was like, dude, this person's had like over 100 competitions and something else, and it's like, dude, like I didn't even know. So it's
Yeah.
just like it's crazy how our own mental like fears and like knowing of like how like sometimes these dreams like scare you too
Mhm.
big and you think you can never attain them, and so then you just like shelf yourself, and then
You
you
don't even
you just
try.
yeah, you never even like learn anything, and it's like you have to just go for it. I just like I made a commitment to myself and I said like no matter what, like I'm gonna do this no matter what. Like and lo and behold, you get there. It's true what they say, right before everything's like trying to tell you like, hey, turn around, like time's against you, you're a woman, you know what I mean? You started the sport late. Like I told my mom, I said, if I don't get into UFC by the time I'm 30, then I quit. Then I won't do this. I don't think I can like have a professional career in this. Like I don't know. And I got into the UFC 3 months before I turned 30.
Damn, look at
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Like literally right there.
Yeah.
That's exactly that meme that you just had that picture of that guy that
Just
he's going at it, and then there's one guy below him that turns around. He didn't see it through. That's
absolutely.
phenomenal. So
Yeah.
would you say that mentality is that the heart, like you talk a lot about having heart, right? And you talk a lot about the that mindset. Would you say that is that nature or nurture? Does that come from your parents, or is that in your DNA, or did you learn that?
I would say definitely is something that came from my parents. Like, they struggled a lot to come here to the US to like give themselves and our family a better opportunity because they didn't have the opportunity to dream and go for the things that they actually enjoyed or could never even like be able to like take those kind of risks because they needed to eat. You know
Yes.
what I mean? So they couldn't afford to follow their dreams and find the things that they're good. Cause like for example, my mom's a great cook. Like, and I wish, now like her time's kind of like past. She doesn't really want to do that anymore. But if she would have done that when she was younger, she's one of the best cooks ever. But like they did it. They sacrificed their livelihood, everything that they could have done for me and my brothers and sisters. And to see them every day just wake up like at 5 in the morning and just go to work. My mom never took a day off even if she was sick. Never seen her take a day off if she was sick, but for her kids that's the only time she missed time, you know what I mean? And so like it was different, but I appreciated her, and I think that they both showed me a really good work ethic, but also at the same time in the Mexican community, there's a lot of machismo. So you have a lot of the things where like the men work and the women like they work too, but we also have other responsibilities of like you have to take care of the home.
Yeah.
Like when the man gets home, you better like feed him right away.
Yeah.
You better have his tortillas ready,
Hmm.
everything, every day, no matter what. And I remember when I was younger, I had like a really, really low self-esteem, and like I got in a bad relationship with somebody when I was in high school, and they were very controlling, very abusive, even gotten physical with me at times, and that broke my self-confidence a lot. And like there's times where I think I tried to tell my family, I tried to tell my parents, and they're like, "Oh, you're just being hella dramatic, Cynthia," and me being the youngest one, they always say that the youngest one's the crybaby.
Right.
And so like I feel like they never took me serious when I would like mention to them as like, "Hey, like." I'm done in this relationship. Like, but they're like, yeah, right, Cynthia.
Jorona? Is that
Yeah,
the name?
yeah,
Jorona? Yeah,
Yorona.
Jorona.
And
You said that he was physical. What do you mean by
yeah,
that?
like he would just like push me around. Like I remember times where like in high school, one time he like grabbed me by my hair. I was trying to walk away, pulled me back, sat me on my ass, and then like I went to the principal's office and tried to say something, and they just called my parents. And when I told my parents just didn't believe me because like they've been around him before, and he was like a sweet talker. Like he didn't really speak Spanish very well. He like tried to act like he spoke a little bit, but he was very mean and controlling, and like he
Yeah.
was just really good at persuading people, like you know what I mean. And so um
He's two-faced.
yeah, and so like I felt crazy because in our time, so I was like, I guess this is the way it's supposed to be. I was like, this is the way it's supposed to be. I've seen it with the other, like in culturally wise too, like men do that to women a lot, like and then I guess that's just the way it's supposed to be. And like,
Is there like a moment or like a breaking point for you with that relationship
oh
where you're
yeah,
like, this shit's not normal?
oh, no, it was bad. So, like, it got to the point where even after high school, like, We actually ended up getting married. So he joined the Marine Corps. I was going to community college and I decided to drop out of community college. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go support you because once you're government owned, you move wherever you're going to move. And he was in infantry. And like ultimately, when they're going through stuff, you kind of like have to like deal with it because they're doing something that's really hard. And so, they're America's heroes and stuff. And they go through a lot of stuff physically and mentally, just like what they have to do with on day-to-day basis on top of like, going overseas. We got stationed in Hawaii, just went over there and this dude was just so controlling, but I just kept dealing with it. Like it was just so weird, but I was young, I was dumb, I was naive. I tried to be vocal about it and my words didn't mean anything when I would cry. So I was just like, like I said, it's supposed to be that way. I remember he'd be, overseas and I'd be working at like at Macy's store and like he would try to call me and I couldn't answer. And then when I'd finally talk to him, he'd be like, what is your effing problem? Like when I call you, you need to answer. They need to understand that when I'm out here, you know what I mean? I was like, unfortunately, even though there is a lot of respect for a lot of the men and women that serve our country, at the end of the day, the world doesn't stop going around. So if I have a job that I have to keep, like I can't answer all the time, but he would get really upset with me and I was very heartbroken. And then when he'd come back in town, I'd have to quit my job because he would go to the store and like follow and wait for me there and think that I'm like, trying to cheat on him and stuff. And like I remember I wanted to go to the gym and he's like, "You're just trying to talk to other dudes," and I'm like, I can't even do anything. Like I felt trapped, but I felt like that's the way it's supposed to be. And then I wanted to leave him. I moved back with my family in San Jose. Like, I was like, I'm just done. Like, because like I remember even trying to tell on him that he was being physical with me in the military. And they have this thing where brothers have their back. So they kind of blamed it on me and said it was my fault. And I was like, I'm out of here. I get me off this base because like I have no protection.
It's
Like
like gaslighting this
they have
everywhere.
each other's backs. You know what I mean? And so I went back with my parents and like gave it a couple months. Starts calling me again, like, hey, sweet talks me. And I'm like, I was like, fine, you've been through a lot of stuff. You did 2 tours, overseas, like, been in the front line. You've seen through some shit. So I know you're going through a hard time. Like, all right, let's work it. Let's give it another shot. Bring them into my family with my parents. And like I said, you know what, you take your time looking for a job. You already did 4 years in the Marine Corps. You have 4 years reserved. Just take your time looking for a job. It's been really, really hard on you. I'm gonna work. I have a job. So just take your time so that we can just get ourselves back on our feet and like find our own place. Well, he took that time to go hook up with his best friend's little sister, who is still in high school, 17 years. So as soon as she turned 18, he just booked it. He left me. And I was just like, dude, you begged me to come back. Like, how are you gonna like tear me down? I build myself a little bit, gave you back in, and you tear my ass back down again, dude. And like on top of that, like my family doesn't even know how bad you are, It
How
was
old were you at this point?
I was like 21, 22. He actually served me with divorce papers at my parents' house. Yeah. Like, I wanted to leave him so many times, but I guess it had to be on his terms. At the end of the day, he had it. But it's okay because I got the last laugh no matter
Oh,
what. So,
100%. Success is
so
the best
because like,
revenge.
yeah, dude. So
Yeah.
there's a gym like about a block away from where I was at. So I was going through the divorce. Yeah, I walked into an MMA gym just to like better myself because I felt like I had these chains on me like nonstop. Like he was just controlling every part of me that I was like, God, I gotta go do something for myself. And I love watching fights. Like my brother would watch fights. I was like, I gotta go do that. Like I go do something for myself, dude. And it was just like, I never felt so alive. Then I got the message eventually 1 year after, because after a year of training, I got my first fight. That fool sent me a message on Instagram, on Facebook. Hell no, I didn't open that at all. Like, that's done. Never,
Yeah.
ever, never go back to anybody. Don't even open the message. There's no such thing as closure, in my opinion, especially in toxic
Oh,
relationships.
especially.
There's
Yeah,
never there's never that last talk like, hey, let's go meet up. And like, nah, dude, that shit doesn't work. Cut it, nip it. If it's toxic, just be gone.
So in
And
hindsight, maybe the audience or, there's some women out there that are going through it currently.
yeah.
How would you have coached yourself to do that? Cut it off before cheated and left?
I mean, honestly, like you have to also learn how to identify it, and one day just decide, like, I need to go do something for myself because you can do a lot of self-loathing, and that shit can last for a long time, and you can feel sorry for yourself forever. But like that ultimately also comes like very selfish, and so I kind of started shifting also my energy as to like I'm not gonna go to waste all these opportunities I have in front of me. Like now I am free of my chains, and I can be whatever I want to be, and I'm not afraid to fail. because no matter what, I've been through some really tough shit. And if I can even if I fall down again, like I'm gonna get back up, like no matter what. So you gotta dare to like just like go for it all. Like go for it, go bro, whatever you gotta do, because no matter what, like it's gonna force you to be resilient and like you're gonna not be afraid to continue to make those risks because you know you believe in yourself and you can count on yourself that no matter what, you can get yourself out of it because you've done it before and you can do it time and time after that. But it just takes a step of like hard. It's hard, especially for women, because when you love somebody and like you can just you kind of get like hypnotized in these like relationships and you think that like it's all you are, but it's not. And like you have to like find help, and like sometimes the people around you are not going to be enough, so you have to like go to the gym, go be around people that you aspire to be, that you wish you were like, for who you want to be like, and go
Mm-hmm.
surround yourself by those people, and it's surely enough you become what your environment is. So it's just like you have to just take away yourself from the situations if it's not working for you, and that includes being around like family even though they love you and want to be the best for you. You have to break the cycle because you might be in the same cycle that they're stuck in, that they don't know how to teach you to get through, because it's hard to do that for ourselves. We're really great at giving advice, but we can never like, it's almost like we can't even see it
See
for
it, yeah.
ourselves. It's so
That's
weird,
so true.
so it's like you have to like kind of like stand outside yourself and look at yourself as if you're your own friend, and what kind of advice would you give to your friend looking from the outside?
And you mentioned before, become the hero of your own story, right?
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
so powerful.
Become the hero of my own story. Don't like, that's one thing too. It's like sometimes we get relying on other people, and I think that also in return makes you a better partner in life when you do want to be with someone, because you don't feel like you're not going to be anything without them. Like you're sure in your own self. So ultimately it's like you don't, you're your own whole and that person's your own whole, and then together it's just like it's
Yeah,
not like, oh, you're a half, and then like no, you're own each other's wholes. Like you have to learn how to like live with yourself every single day without having to like give you somebody else give you validation, and that's the most powerful thing there.
that's so powerful. We were actually just talking about that. Jay, the creative director behind the cameras, we were talking about that, becoming a Mount Olympus, so strong, so steadfast, self-reliant.
Yeah.
That when shit happens, because it'll be
Hmm.
good. You'll be good regardless of what happens. So switching gears a little bit, now we were talking about toxic relationships. Let's talk about not toxic relationships. Yeah, the opposite.
Come on,
Healthy
son.
relationships. So, Mitch, how did you guys meet?
We met at the
What's the
gym.
story? Okay.
Yeah, we actually met at the gym. Yeah. So I moved to Vegas like January 2nd of 2022. I just like packed all my stuff and my life had kind of fallen apart a little bit. And I just basically put everything I owned in my car and was like, I'm going to go to Vegas and I'm going to live with my buddy and his, and like people that I just gone on a training trip and was like, okay, this is where I need to be if I want to, be the best. So had a training partner, friend, that offered me a room until I could get on my feet, figure it out. Ended up saying yes, and then ended up actually staying with somebody else. But long story short, moved out here, took that leap of faith, as she kind of mentioned before, just being like, screw it, what else? What do I got to lose, dude? It's do or die. It's now or never. And moved out there and found myself, I was training at Syndicate MMA, and she'd been in Vegas for a little while and she'd been training at a different gym, but hadn't really worked out. She didn't, she needed to change. So she moved over to Syndicate and started training at Syndicate. And, I think we were both both of us were not looking for that, and, not really looking for a relationship for, different reasons. And for whatever reason, we just couldn't, like on the mat, it was just like, there was like a magnet. It was like, I always like, she was coming and saying hi to me, or I was going and saying hi to her. And then it was just like, we always like enjoyed talking to each other,
Mhm.
it's kind of how it went. And then, I don't know, after like this went on for like probably like a month or two at least. It wasn't like there was spark. I mean, yeah, there was definitely chemistry, but it was like both of us were resistant. You know what I mean? It was like,
Interesting. Okay.
and honestly, I feel like it was almost a blessing that like I was in a state where I was like, no, like I was just like, I'm here to focus on this and whatever else. And um, our first like date, I guess you could say, was I would see that she runs on Instagram, and I like to run too, so I was like, oh yeah, I've been running again too, but nothing crazy yet. And I just go by myself in the morning. She's like, oh, well, come with us, come with me and my boxing coach and some of these other, other guys. And we go run this mountain on Saturdays. And, You know, like I think she kind of like gut checked me a little bit because this is not just a run. Okay, this is 5.2 miles up the side of a mountain with over 2,000 feet elevation gain.
So
okay,
that's your first date?
Yeah.
Well,
That's what we did.
kinda, like,
I was like,
it wasn't like a real first
That's
date. It was
dope.
like,
this is the first day. That's how we
but
got.
because there was other people there.
Yeah,
Hey,
so
but
it's
but
like,
but
it
but,
wasn't like a
but
date
this is the
date.
thing. The way I covered the check was my ass made it up that mountain faster than everybody. But
Let's
just one
go.
skinny little boxer, dude. I burned them all.
That's
And I pushed
who
myself so hard.
Who made the first move?
I mean, I'll say she did, dude. No, I was definitely, honestly, I felt like I was like at a certain point, like even before this, like I'd kind of been like, screw it. And I kind of like started like attempting a little bit more because I just couldn't help myself, I guess. It was just like, all right, here's, we can share space outside of the gym. It was almost just like it wasn't like a romantic thing. It was more of just like, hey, come along. You know what I mean? But there was like a spark there. If that makes sense. So I showed up and it wasn't like, oh, this is like a date or anything like that. It was just like, okay, like, all right, I'm going to go run up this mountain. And I don't think she knew that, I've been running mountains since I was a kid, dude. I'm from Utah, so running mountains is what I came up on. So I ran my ass up that mountain and everything else. And I could tell she was like, damn, all right, this dude freaking booked it, So after that, there was fights that night and she was basically, and I was going over to some of our friends' house to watch a fight. And she was like, oh, I'm doing this watch party thing where I'm supposed to film myself watch this fight for the UFC and I'm supposed to do it with people else. And then she came and hung out. And then actually we were all supposed to go and like paddleboard the next day or do something fun because it was like a Saturday. And as we were going back to our cars, because we parked next to each other, right? Like in this little parking lot off to the side, as the night ended and we were all going back, we were like, she goes, I think she was like, I don't remember who said it, but we were talking. We were basically like, yeah, we should definitely go paddleboarding tomorrow, but we should just go though. Like, we should just bail on everybody. And we should go do something. Right. And that's what we did. I actually took her off-roading in my truck, climbed up to the top of a mountain and listened to some music.
Sunset.
Yeah. Sunset. I think we've hung out every day ever since. Yeah. So here we are 2 years later about.
From your perspective, is that pretty
that's pretty much it. Like literally we just like hit it off. But like I was the same way where I was like, spent a lot of years. I had when I first started the sport, the reason why I started, so I was very like standoffish about like dating someone because I was afraid of like giving myself that much of myself again. You know what I mean? And I was like worried that I would get there. It's kind of like a person who's an addict before. Like you don't want to be afraid going back into something you might dabble or get close to because you might get lost in it again. So it's like some people. Once you get in a relationship and you fall in love with someone, like it can become that. Like it takes over you, And so I was afraid. So I was always kind of a little bit standoffish, like dating people, like throughout like most of my career and stuff. I've dated here and there, but like this has probably been the most serious relationship that I had since since I was married, like a long time ago. So I was like, dude, when I moved to the gym, especially because I had just moved to Vegas, I was in Vegas for like about a year and a half or so, and I moved to Syndicate, and then he showed up, and I was just like, all right, whatever you do when you go to the gym, you don't want to date anybody. I was like, you just move there. You don't want to like date anybody at work because like if it doesn't work out, somebody's got to go. It's gonna be uncomfortable,
Right.
And so
it's risky.
Yeah, so I was like, you don't want to do that, and so, but it's just like we just couldn't help it, like and I think once we got to know each other, and like I think one of the things that we liked about each other the most is like just how many things that we've been through and like the type of person that you become from like overcoming such things, so we were able to understand each other. Because sometimes when you go through a past like that, like when you're not, sometimes you can be comfortable talking about it, and sometimes you're not comfortable talking about it. Because I know, like for him, when he first came out of prison, like he like it's almost like, oh hush, like no, I don't want to tell anybody about my past because like they're gonna judge me. But like ultimately, when you realize like the beauty that comes from your struggle, and that when you're not afraid to share your story, and like realize that like how that actually makes you a beautiful person, And so like I love him like who he is, his personality, but it made me love him even more once I knew everything he's been through, because like I could resonate it, and there's like a lot of passion and a lot of like heartbreak, and it's just a lot of misunderstandings of the world where you think like everything's against you, and to be able to like come out of all of that and to be who you are, like, and that's where we just like we hung out one day, and we've been like we probably haven't spent more than like 2 days apart since we've been together.
That's the best. Those are the best relationships.
It's easy, It's
But I want to talk about the inspiration that you're talking about, how it's inspiring people, and I know you're inspiring the next generation of women and women in general, right? Just for what you do and and how you show up. And Mitch, you know, he's been on a streak for the last year where after he wins a fight and he gets the mic, you know, he speaks his truth and he speaks and shares where he was and how much he overcame. We've got clips with 1 million views right now. Like
Yeah.
one
it's
clip
crazy,
of you
man.
just talking to Mike, sharing your story, right? Your mess
crazy.
is your message. You guys are both super inspirational, and I just want to say, like, keep it up, keep doing that, keep sharing it, because you guys are impacting so many people, whether you see it or not, you know. And that's one of the things that I saw when you came on the podcast originally, right? Like, you've got one of the craziest stories, right?
Yeah.
And both of you guys are so committed. And you both mentioned, like, when meeting each other, you knew you didn't want to. So I'm going to ask you, Mitch, what was it about her that made you cross the line?
I think just like, it's like there's that corny line of like, oh, you know, if you're gonna date somebody, be their friend first. And I feel like in the past, I'd never done that. And I think it's because like most people operate off of like, you know, like either lust or like maybe like a person's status or their money, you know, something like that. You know what I mean? Like that's what gets their attention and that ties into their attraction to them. Right. And then you're almost like you're allowing yourself to get blind spots on this person because you're looking at, does that make sense? You're
Yep.
looking at like
Yeah.
something that isn't them and their personality. So I think that for me, it was like, once like we got to know each other and I just saw the way she operated with people. First, you know, everybody loves her, you know, everybody just has nothing but good things to say and, you know, everything else. So like just seeing how she operated and everything else, and then getting to know her and just getting to know who she is before allowing myself to really go there with like, you know, feeling attracted or being emotional or whatever else. Like when I think about it, I think that is the biggest like difference, as well as what has made this relationship successful and why, you know, we have so much fun together, is because, you know, not only, you know, is she my girlfriend, my partner, but she's my best friend. You know, like literally our life is just dogs, bullshit, training. Like we like the same music. We usually like the same movies. Like it's like we have enough different. Don't be wrong. She's way more soft-hearted than I am. I mean, in some ways, actually in all ways, yeah, she's definitely more soft-hearted than me. And like she kind of balances out like my parts that are a little bit too crazy, like my like trauma, like reactions and stuff. She's like, hey, you know, relax. You know, it's not that big of a deal. It's like we kind of pull each other. And then I'm like telling her, you know, when she goes into like the negative, like self stuff, like because we both deal with our stuff, you know what I mean? We both do a lot of the same things, but I think we do them at different intensities. And we see each other do these things and be like, hey, chill. And then it's like, oh wait, I do that too.
It's like a
But
yin
like,
and yang kind of thing
yeah.
where it's like I have strengths, I have a lot of things that I'm really, really good at that he's not as great,
Mhm.
that you know, so it compliments him. And then there's things that I'm not really good at that he's really good at, so it compliments. So it's just kind of like, it's like we kind of like water each other, like, you know, and like help each other, and like it just works well together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's very important. But like going back to what he was saying, is just like, you know, what I think what is hard nowadays with like dating and stuff, it's like you have Tinder, you have like, so you have certain expectations, you know, everybody's gonna like put forth like like, you know, their best look, you know, there's a honeymoon stage, they're gonna show you everything you want, they're gonna tell you everything you want to hear, you know, and they're just gonna make themselves look like everything you want to be, you know, instead of actually being themselves. So it's really hard. Dating sites and stuff like that, it's great, but I don't think that's like that. I would want to have that the best option. Like the best option would be to fall in love with somebody that you like you've been around, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? You love their manner, you like who they are with other people, you see them be themselves, not like them pretending to be something just because they know you guys are on a date. You know, and so it's like we got lucky where, you know, we were both like, oh, we don't want to date anybody in the gym because it's gonna be messed up, but at the same time, you know, you spend time, we have the same friends, and you hang out with somebody and then you look at them and they're like, man, no, that person's really cool, you know, and then you're just like, man, you know.
I get to know their character almost too,
Yeah.
like when you're like in those rooms together, because it's like we're both on the pro team, so it's not like there's like just like huge rotations of people. I mean, there is like overturn and stuff like that, people in and out of town, but there's like maybe 20 to 30 of us that are like there all the time. So it's like it's not that many people.
fighting is so pure. And so like when you're in there, I mean, on top of that, like I'm looking like shit, dude. My hair's all crazy. I'm all sweaty, dude.
Yeah.
We're in high tense
Crazy.
situations. You know, the real person's gonna come out.
For
you know,
real.
I don't got no lashes, no makeup. You
Yeah,
know what I mean?
100%.
So you're gonna find out who I am, especially because you're putting me in a hideous situation where I'm grappling, I'm fighting every day. So it's like if you see, you really want to know how somebody is, watch them when they're in like a heated situation.
Watch them get
So
frustrated.
you can find out who they really
right?
are.
Watch them get tired. Right?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. Definitely.
Yeah, you don't want to like date with somebody and commit it, and then later on find out I was like, oh my god, this is crazy. You know, I never seen her act this crazy before.
You guys have like a visceral understanding of each other, right? Because you guys are both pro fighters.
Yeah.
Like that's got to be magnetic. Like you're just like, oh no, I get it.
You know, I mean, there is that. Like that's like the work side of it. But there's fighters. There's a lot of different reasons why people fight. Right? There's people who, you know, like us that have overcome something, and like fighting is like what saved us, and like we have a purpose as to why we fight. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, like I share these stories, I share this message, I, you know, try to help people, inspire people, as well as, you know, improve my future. There's that, but there's also other people that are just solely money motivated. There's people that were just raised in it and this is all they know. You know what I mean? There's so many different types of athlete within the sport that have, because this isn't, you know, and like the NFL and things like that, like you if you're in, you were doing this your whole life, you know, pretty much. Like you had to go through college, you had to get drafted, you had to, you know, you had to have your ducks in a row and everything had to go the right way. Where in MMA, dude, like shit, I came out of prison at 23 and I never had a fight. You know what I mean? So it's like, and here I am now, you know? So it's like, if you're good and you keep your self out of trouble and you train hard and you're disciplined enough, you can be somebody.
Oh shit, you started seriously training at 23.
Yeah.
You started, damn, I didn't know that was that
Yeah,
close.
crazy, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. Like, you're just kind of like, click.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah, I know.
Back to what I was saying with like, you know, for us, so like, I think it's like, cause I've known a lot of fighters and I didn't like connect with all of them, or even like, you know, everybody's just kind of different. But I think that where we operate from, why we fight, you know, like, as well as like, I don't know, just our experiences that make us like, yes, it is fighting, but it's like deeper than the fighting. It's like, we are the same type of fighter. Right. So that's where I think that, why we get each other.
Just compliment each other, like just being able to understand each other, because you know it's hard sometimes for people to understand each other when they don't understand each other's like obstacles and trauma that they've been through, you know. And like, because nobody's perfect, like it's gonna take constant work. Like even when you try to work through something in your life, like you have to constantly work at it. Like everything takes work, you know. And when you meet somebody who also knows that you always gonna have that part of your life that you have to work through it day in day life, and you can love them even when they're having a hard time or a hard day, and you understand why, and you can help them get through it. Like that's so important, because you don't want to become something that you're not just to impress someone, and then you can't relieve it, you know. So to be able to be completely bare with someone and not be afraid of it because you're not scared, you know, because they love you unconditionally. So it doesn't matter, you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of times where relationships aren't like that. Like a lot of times you mold yourself into what you want that person, you know, what they want, and you lose yourself, you know. So it's so important to be able to like meet someone and have someone that can allow you to just completely, you know, be yourself without having to like feel like you have to wear makeup, or oh, you're not allowed to wear this clothes, or you know, someone who just loves you unconditionally, like no matter what, you look like dog shit in the morning, or whether it's like the fucking looking like $1,000,000 the next day, they better love me the same on both days, you know. So that's very important.
So what does the future with you guys look like?
I mean, we're just plugging along, dude. I mean,
Sounds like a match made
got
in
some
heaven if
dogs
you're
and
asking
shit.
me.
See where it goes.
Yeah, it definitely feels like we've been together for a very long time, but like in a good way.
Yeah.
If that made sense.
To me, like marriage, like I grew up, you know, where I like growing up in Utah and things like that, where it was like marriage was this like holy institution and all this kind of stuff. And like at the end of the day, dude, love is the holy institution to me. You know what I mean? Like if you love somebody and they love you and you have that person's back down to the soul, like that's more, dude, that's stronger than most marriages. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people that are married that hate each other. You know what I mean? And then they just have to get a divorce and lose half their money, or,
Right.
you know, get half the money, whatever side you're operating from. But, you know, it's like, you know, I just think that for me, you know, and I think that we're both, you know, similar people. We're like, I don't think we're like bound by the same constructs as like like what your like regular conservative person is. So it's like, I mean, we've been living together for Almost honestly within a few months,
Since
like
about time that like he hung out. Like when
yeah.
we hung out, he came over to my place and probably
And
like
I also got really
been
sick from
there
a
every
weight cut,
day.
and she took care of me for like I was supposed to be in the hospital for like 2 weeks, and I didn't have insurance at the time, and I didn't want to stay in the hospital because they were going to freaking run up the bill's going to get crazy, and it was still a crazy bill. But I basically checked myself out against medical orders and
Took him to my place
went
and took
over,
care of him.
and they were like, "Listen, if you leave, like you can't get off the couch. Like you're too like you're like long like I had rhabdomyolysis in my legs, right? I don't know if you guys know what that is, but it's basically like tissue death. Like I trained so hard, like I worked out and depleted my body so hard that I caused like my muscles to actually die inside of me.
Oh
Like
my God.
so you basically have dead tissue inside of you that is now breaking into enzymes and getting into your bloodstream and can damage your kidneys, damage your liver, damage your heart. Like it's myoglobin gets into your bloodstream. Like it's really bad, right? So it's like a life-threatening injury. And I've actually had it before. I had it when I was like 19, but from seizures, actually, from drug withdrawals.
Oh wow.
So I got it from like basically like during a weight cut. I rode like an Airdyne bike a little too hard when I was like depleted, and then I went to the sauna, and that like whammy, I guess, of like underfed, overtrained, dehydrated, overexercised, overheated caused the cell death. Essentially. But basically my legs just wouldn't stop cramping. Like I couldn't walk. Like I tried to like, we were coming back from Utah because I was supposed to fight. The fight fell through. It's like, what the hell, like the day before. So instead of, going and fighting, we just went to Utah to do the commentary. Like, hey, still come do the commentary, hang out. We were already planning on going. So I was like, hey, let's go. Did the commentary. And then like, it was like the night of the fight, honestly, or like the night, like it was like, as I went home, I was like, what's going on with my legs, dude? Why are my legs feeling like weird? They just kind of started like spasming and being sore. And then like by the next day, dude, like I could not walk. Like I was in so much pain. My legs were just Charlie horsing and Charlie horsing and Charlie horsing. I mean, I was sweating through my clothes. She pushed me through the airport in a wheelchair. We made our flight barely.
Salt Lake Airport is long.
Yeah,
So
like they thought I had
push
refeed.
them for like 2
Yeah.
miles. I don't know, 3 miles.
The nutrition
It's a big ass
stuff.
airport,
Yeah,
yeah.
it was gnarly, dude. She freaking killed it.
Yeah.
That's
We
when I knew she was the
barely
one.
made it.
Yeah.
We
Was when
barely made
my
it.
ass, literally, I tried to go through TSA, like at Salt Lake, right?
Yeah.
I tried to go through TSA, and you know how they make you cut right and you have to cut back?
Yep.
I started cutting over and my legs stopped working. I fell into the wall. My legs locked up and I was like, oh no. And then I like kept trying to walk and take another step. And I physically couldn't like, and I was making a scene, dude. Like I'm covered in sweat. My legs are freaking locking out. And I'm like, and like all this crazy pain, like trying to make it through security, right? Because I got to get on this plane. I got to go home. It was my mentality. I didn't know how hurt I was at this point. Though.
Mm-hmm.
I was still confused. I was not aware of how messed up I was. So anyway, they bring a wheelchair. She literally ran me through the airport, dude. Like we made our flight by like 1 minute. It was super gangster. So I probably shouldn't have flown in that state. That probably made it a lot worse. There was a whole lot of other stuff, but long story short, she took care of me. Like we went to the hospital. Like I said, I'd had it before. I knew what they were going to do. They're going to make me take a bunch of IV fluids and drink a bunch of water and not move. And I've been through this. So I was like, I knew what I was in for, and I was not insured because once again, I just jumped off the cliff, you know what I mean? And just moved to Vegas. So I was like, I had a sponsor that was a medical sponsor that does IVs and does like stuff like that. And then I was like,
timeline. I'm having trouble. Was this before or after the podcast?
This was before the podcast. This was like a year before our last podcast.
Okay.
This was the lead up to our last podcast.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So this happened. And then, cause this is like all tied into how we, met and everything. But basically I checked myself out of the hospital against like doctor's orders and just told him that I was going to get an IV, like a couple IVs I talked to my sponsor. They're like, hey, we'll give you IVs every day. They told me I just need to sit on the couch and drink water. You literally can't get out. You cannot walk. You can't do anything for 2 weeks. After 2 weeks, then you can start like easing back in. And then after 2 weeks, you can start to maybe exercise a little bit. If that goes well, after 6 weeks, you can try to train a little bit again. You know what I mean? That's like, it was a serious injury. Like most time when this happens, like 12-week recovery time, like it's bad, So, honestly, my esophagus swole up from the myoglobin. I couldn't swallow. Like I was really messed up, dude. Yeah. Like it was bad. And that was like the first time I put on like 20 pounds, like I've never had on before, which ties into this rest of this, what's been going on the last year. But, that was kind of like that moment, like I was just so down and defeated. I went from like, okay, I have this fight and I'm going to get in this fight and then I'm going to get a Contender series and it's all going to go so well. And I moved and I met this girl and to fight fell through. Nothing coming, and now you're in the hospital, and now you can't train for at least 2 months probably. Long story short, I went back to practice after 4 weeks. I was like throwing up after practice every day, and I took a fight like 6 weeks later. And that was a fight in Vegas that was before we talked, that I knocked the guy out in, right? That was that fight.
Okay.
Right. So, and that was at 160 because I was afraid to cut all the way down because of the organ stuff that was going on from the rhabdo, right? I was still having issues with some stuff. So, so it was cool though, because she just was like there for me, and it was funny because she had to take care of me. So I didn't leave, you know what I mean? She just like, just stay here and I'll take care of you. So I stayed there for I think almost a month already. And then somewhere toward I was starting to get better, and she was like, you should just move in. And I was like, and I was kind of shocked a little bit. And I was like, cause I wouldn't, you know what I mean? That's fast, as well as I don't want to be like, hey, let me in here. I was staying with my aunt up in Summerlin, and I was only in Vegas for a few months. So I was like, oh, let's think about it. Let's talk about it. And then after it was kind of like that moment where oh, should we do it? Kind of that moment of it was kind of crazy, And then I think after another few days that we kind of sat on it and settled with it, and then brought it back around, still feel the same way.
Well, I feel like
try it. Let's do it.
We were literally hanging out every day. So he's
No,
spending the night every day.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I'd already lived there for a
"You're gonna be here
month. She'd
all
come
the
with me to
time."
Utah.
Like, I
We'd
was
been training. We'd doing all
You
this
kind of
stuff.
have a temporary spot at your aunt's house. Was it,
and I mean, seeing me at my worst too, seeing me
Yeah.
at a space, and I'm depressed too. I'm not super pumped. I just want to eat food and sleep. I'm just, you know what I mean? It's I can't believe this.
And then I
How
have
did this happen?
my dogs too. So it's for me, it's because I've been chasing my dream for so long.
Yeah.
I lived by myself for many years. So I had my dog, and then I just recently got another dog, So I was my dogs are they're my therapy dogs too. So I feel like it kind of served him as therapy dogs too.
For
So while
sure.
he was there, he was
Yeah.
just hanging out with my dogs, and I feel like he just he just fit in. It just all fit in together. It was weird. It was
Yeah.
kind of we both had we were our own holes, but at the same time, I felt like there was a little puzzle that just kind of clicked together.
Yeah, no, for
When
sure.
we got together, it was just oh, this just fit.
Was there anything that stuck out to you? Because it sounds like he was going through a lot, right? What was it about him that you're this guy, this is my guy?
Just spending time around him without even actually knowing his story. Cause if you spend enough time around Mitch and you don't even know who he is, you get surprised when he actually tells you what you've been through. And you never would have ever thought that was his background. You know what I mean? And so for me to see this kind person who's always just laughing and joking and I was just astonished because I just knew that what he had to go through to become the person he is. And it's just it's kind of like the rose that grew through concrete, one of the Tupac poems. I freaking love that, you know what I mean? And it's just I just love that about him. And so I was just willing to support him because I knew that it was such a pivotal time in his career as well. Cause I've been there before. I've had plenty of teammates. I've been there where you don't know when you're gonna get your shot or your chances. And I knew that he had just moved to Vegas and he was a big prospect, and and just really just I related to him a lot, because he's been through what he's been through and I've been through. So I just felt I was man, I just love this guy. Whatever we can do to help each other. I know that, he would be a good partner, and it's just showed me time and time that he is he's a very supportive person who loves me no matter what, makes me feel great about myself from the moment that I freaking wake up, you know what I mean? And so even if I'm a little grumpy or something, it's just and that's just so important, and it's just it's just so sweet and so nice to be able to see someone be who he is, because I'm telling you, every person that meets him and he tells them their story and they're like, what? I was
Yeah,
you were in
100%.
prison? You did what?
No, you
There's
weren't.
no way, dude. You're
Yeah, yeah.
lying, dude. Where did you
Hey,
go?
yeah.
You kidding me,
That's
right?
the goal. That's the goal.
Yeah.
And for
no,
anyone
but
listening
inspiring.
that maybe is tuning in for the first time or doesn't know what we're talking about, episode 27, Adaptive Leaders with Mitch Ramirez, we go through his story. So go check it out because that's what we keep referencing.
Yeah.
His story, his battle with addiction, his going to prison for, I'm not going to spoil it, but he went to prison for a good amount of time.
Yeah, significant amount of
A
time.
significant part of his life.
Definitely wasn't days.
Yeah, it's inspiring and it's amazing and it's so cool. To switch gears a little bit, what do you guys think about Sean Strickland talking about the females in the UFC?
I mean, I feel like the guy's he's always saying something crazy, dude. I don't honestly. I just kind of I don't react to a lot of that stuff because I feel I don't know, dude. I don't even know, to be honest. I don't think I've seen it. Like I've seen a bunch of it. I'm sure I could like pretty close to verbatim it if I just said what I've heard, you know?
The clip was nobody wants to watch girls fight.
I mean, that's just,
Yeah.
I mean, that's just not true,
I mean-
honestly, but it's,
Do
I
you
mean,
know
it's
what
his
I'm talking
opinion.
about, or-
Yeah,
maybe
no,
so.
I know.
I don't even think that's his opinion, to be honest with you.
You think he's just
I
ruffling
know.
He's
feathers?
actually not that. He's like, he's in Vegas.
Listen, he's just the type of guy that doesn't have a filter. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Everybody's
yeah.
entitled to their opinions.
Yeah.
Truth of the matter is though, like I've been around Strickland plenty. You know, he's native here from Vegas, so I've been around him a lot plenty in the last 3 years, and like he's always been really nice and respectful to me. You know, from the before, you know, when he was just in the UFC to becoming champion, like. You know, even though he can say, you know, whatever he wants to say to get a rise out of people, because I think he's really good at that. I think that's just also a defense mechanism that he has, where he says like outlandish shit just to say it, you know, which is fine. You know what I mean? It's just like people enjoy it. It's like in entertainment. Like people love when people are so like, you know, just hit a chord on someone, you know, just get a reaction on someone. That's like, you know, WWE style, like Vince McMahon, whatever you got to say, you know, Ric Flair, you know, just to get, you know, Chael Sonnen, you know, like you have to be able to sell fight, you know, whether, you know, they want to like you or say it or not, but he says a lot of dumb shit sometimes. And I'm sure that he would agree too. But I don't take it to great offense. Like there's even like Islam as well, Makachev. I trained with them at AKA, you know, with Khabib and all them, and they were all very, very nice and respectful to me. We didn't like physically train because it's like against a religion, but they were very, very nice and respectful, even though they've come out before that they don't like to see women fight and they don't like agree with it. At the end of the truth of the matter, it is when there's no cameras around and we're standing next to each other, they're respectful, and that's what's important to me. You know, so it's like, you know, Sean Strickland, he's a wild guy. You know, he's gonna want to say wild things. You know, so I don't take it too hard. You know, if it comes down to a point where I know for sure like he feels that way and you can feel that behind closed doors, and I'm like, oh yeah, f that guy. But nah, you know, he's just.
I like it. Yeah, and he's gonna say what he says, but as long as he respects you, doesn't like, he can have his own opinion.
Yeah, for sure.
Show you respect. Show you respect.
Yeah, but he really does say some dumb shit. So.
I'm good friends with a friend of his, and I mean I've had an interaction with him. He's always been cool, man. I've never had a bad interaction with him personally, and I've never really seen him have bad interaction with anybody else. That's why I'm like, I mean, I wouldn't say that he like is disingenuous, that he's like saying these things like in like a stagey kind of way. I just think that he's just nuts, man. And he's the first thing that comes in, it's like, this is, screw it, I'm gonna say it. You know, I just think that, you know, if like you let him elaborate more, it probably wouldn't be as crazy. But especially, I feel like there's been a few times where he's charged up and he says some stuff where it's like, ooh, you know what I mean? But yeah, I just honestly, dude, I don't even really watch half of it because I got to go to practice. I got to focus on my shit. You know what I mean? Like I'll watch the fight. You know what I mean? I want to see how the fight's going through. Like for the most part, like I watch like the fighters that I pay attention to are for skills, you know? And honestly, Sean has got some skills and he's done well lately. So I've been watching, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, yeah, he's done well. So what can I take from this guy? What does he do well? You know, why is he having success and things like that? And that's just kind of how I look at fighting. Unless I know you personally, then I'm like, get that. Yeah, come on. You know what I mean? Then it's emotional, you know, but outside of that, like if I don't like have a personal relationship with you, I don't really emotionally invest, or because I know, dude, it's like from this side of things, it's like half these, because there are a lot of disingenuous guys that are just saying shit, especially after Conor McGregor, dude. So after Conor, dude, it was like you got all these like knockoff brand trying to, you know, and I at the same time I respect the hustle. You know, I can't hate on a man for trying to, you know, get a leg up and trying to be, you know, getting outside of his comfort zone and trying to do something to improve his life and his career. So I don't hate, but it's just, it's exhausting though. You know what I mean? So I just don't pay attention. I'm just like, all right, bro, whatever.
Yeah,
you know?
that's so one thing that I've noticed about both of you guys aren't big social media. Like you're not like, I can't do the social media content creation grind. Like I just want to be all about the fighting thing, right? Is that to a detriment, do you guys think?
Probably.
I just say, yeah, like
I'm not gonna pretend.
because
I'm not talking about be disingenuous. No, yeah, for sure.
well, because I mean, if you know, it's the day and age of like, you know, social media right now. Being able to be good at content creation and being comfortable with being in the camera on day to day is also like that's another skill in itself. You know what I mean? And so like some people are just really good at it. Like I feel like I've been doing just so much constant work on myself and like in this sport of like overcoming, and I just kind of been one track minded on like I just want to focus on fighting. And there's times where I've dabbled a little bit where I have like somebody filming me and stuff, getting ready for my fights and stuff like that. But as far as like content creation, like it's so hard for me just because I am just so tired from training all the time. Like I give it to everybody else that can do it. I feel like if you're good at it, then it's not hard for you to multitask it, but it's hard for me to multitask. Like I just like it's yeah,
I just feel like we're
it's
we're
hard.
both people that also like the last thing I'm thinking about after a practice is taking a photo,
Yeah.
is getting a video. The last thing I'm thinking about on the way to the gym or at practice is getting a photo or getting a video. Like there's so many times I get home like, oh, I should have got a video. I was wearing that shirt and I wanted, oh, dang it. You know, it's like literally like it's not on purpose, but I think it's just that we're both hyper focused. Like we both are people that are where we are because of an ability just to bite on like a dog on a bone and not let go. But that also comes with tunnel vision. At the end of the day, dude, I probably just need to have somebody do it for me.
Yeah.
Because
You
I
guys
keep
are
saying I'm
great
going to get better at it,
communicators.
but
Really
Out
shy.
if you guys had a
so-
show, I would tune in.
Yeah.
Just so you know.
I've-
we're going to do something.
Yeah.
I mean, eventually, I think, but I'm just like, I'm also like really shy. Like, I still like,
Nobody here from watching you
I
and
mean,
share
when
your
I
story
talk-
would say that.
Yeah.
well,
And
listen,
to
when
you,
I,
you know what mean?
so
Like,
when it comes to like talking about fighting and
Yeah.
like just like my past and stuff, like I can be very passionate and talk about it, but
Yeah.
like being in front of the camera, like all, like every day, just like, looking at myself, like, I don't know. I don't know if I can do that all the time. I think I'm gonna get like lost, and then you start getting worrying too much about like what people's opinions and stuff because like honestly, that's already something difficult for me to deal with. Like
Really?
me winning everything. I shot up my following. I got a bunch of following. Like everybody's like, "Oh, you're the next big thing," and then you lose, and then all of a sudden you get like, "Oh, here comes the negative," and then you lose
Oh,
another
shit,
fight,
yeah.
and it's just like you get attacked, dude. And then like I hate being able to
Social
give
media is toxic.
people that kind of access to me. Like F you, like how, you know what I mean? So I kind of like
Fight fans are brutal.
I have a hard time with
I think
like
social media is just fucking
Yeah.
brutal.
Yeah, so
Terrible.
that's why I have a hard time. Like I feel like sometimes when I do that kind of stuff, like I think I just need to let somebody else do it for me. But at the same time, I feel ingenuine, and if it's not me responding to the comments and going through them, but at the same time, because I am very sensitive and a big heart, and I fucking hate bullies, and since I
Yeah.
can't really like gives too many people the ability to just like disrespect you, without getting any repercussions, then like I that shit just it's hard for me to do it. Like not only am I shy, but I'm out here trying to be open with you, but then you gotta come on here and tell me
Yeah.
some dumb shit,
Yes.
and you want to tell me
Yes.
to my face, like,
I'm being vulnerable.
Let's go
I'm
beat
gonna
up
beat
some
your
trolls.
ass.
Troll fight.
Yeah, bully beat down, bring it back.
Oh my god.
All right.
Where did that show go?
Dude, they probably got sued, dude.
Oh,
Some dude's got some serious thrashings on that show.
Bro, we need to bring that back.
I know, please.
100%. Holy
like,
shit.
we
You just
should bring
nostalgia
it
just
back.
seeped into
Dude,
my
that
brain.
was a great
That
show.
was an awesome show.
That was an awesome
and they
show.
never won. The bullies always got beat up.
Duh, you're like
Yeah,
going against other professionals, you know what I mean?
Straight up.
What happened to that guy? I've got to look him up now. Cool. So, Mitch, last time you came on the podcast, you were undefeated, right?
Yep.
You went into I think the next fight after that, I believe you won that one.
Yep.
And we were on our end trying to amplify every message to get you in front of Dana White, and then you got invited on the Contender series.
Yep.
Right? What was that? Because that feels like an alp, right? That feels like a pivotal moment, like a high, right?
Oh,
What did
yeah.
that feel like?
Oh, I mean, honestly, like I'll kind of, because on the last time I was on here, it was like I talked about going through the injury and the Ultimate Fighter not working out and going through that big, just once again it was like here we are again at the beginning of a year and everything is going terribly again. Going back to the rhabdo the year before, and now here we are and this just happened. Now I have this crazy infection in my knee and I gained all this weight again. It was almost like I felt like I like transported back in time. Like I this last year, like, oh, wait a minute, we didn't get out of this. Damn it, we're doing this again. Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
So it was like, oh shit, no. I had to find a way to like get my power back, I guess. And that was that fight that I took literally like I think we did the podcast, and then within a week or two, my manager called me and was like, hey, there's a fight in 2 weeks that I think is a good fight for you. It's on the East Coast. What do you think? And I was like, probably not, dude. Like I've been injured and like just been on the couch. I think I just gotten cleared to practice 2 weeks before this from the knee injury, which was like a really severe infection inside my knee that like messed my knee up kind of and made it all weak. And I had to do like physical therapy and stuff. but so it was still not very, it wasn't super strong yet. And this was up a weight class too. It was a 170, right? But my coaches felt like I could beat the guy, and even, and not having a camp. And I said no. And I was like, no, it's not a good idea. And then they were kind of like, all right, whatever. And then after thinking about it, I was kind of like, fuck it. Do it. Let's do it. What's the worst that's gonna happen? Let's go fight. If I want to fight, let's fight. I got 2 weeks. I'll train as hard as I can and we'll go see what happens, So that's what I did. And honestly, it was like the most nervous I've ever been for a fight. The guy was no slouch. I don't know what the hell. I don't know who told who what, but that guy was not terrible like everybody seemed to assume. He was actually pretty good and pretty well experienced, a lot more experienced than me. And I ended up beating him with leg kicks. And it was just kind of like me figuring it out because that was not the game plan. But when I went in there and the game plan didn't work, I had to figure something else out. So I just started ripping his leg until he couldn't walk. And then that was the fight, right? 3rd round TKO by calf kicks, right?
Yeah.
And that was like this. And then you guys dropped the podcast. And that was like the highest high. Like it was like, hell yeah, dude. Like both my legs were, my ankles were swollen for like 2 months, dude. From kicking that guy so many times, but like it was so worth it. And it was just like, yes, okay. And then I got that opportunity, right? Like it was like we blew it up. It went well. The finish, the call out, everything went really well. And within 2 weeks of that fight, we got the call. Hey, you want to be on Contender Series? Hell yeah. And they're like, okay, well, it's at 155, but it's in 8 weeks. It's like week 1, right? So I was like, oh shit. Once again, I just fought at 170, just came off this knee injury. I was heavy, dude. Like I was a little chunky. That's why if you go and you look at that fight, like I was as soft as you ever see me in a fight because I wasn't in shape. Yeah. Like I legitimately was not in fight shape for that fight, and just went out there and got in a fight. So, pulled it off, everything else. But I was like, okay, like a Contender Series fight is different. I can't miss weight. None of that can happen. But I was afraid that in 8 weeks, I wouldn't be able to make 155, because like I said, I was heavier than I normally, I was a lot, like probably like 15 pounds heavier than I would normally, like than I am right now. Right. So it was like, okay, like, if they gave me a fight in 8 weeks right now, 155, yeah, absolutely. I got to get on a diet, but we're good. I could do it, dude, half that time if I needed to. Yeah. But at that moment in time, I was like, I don't know. I have this, my knee's still really messed up. It's not healthy yet. What if this infection comes back? What if I miss weight? Dude, these guys, and if you miss weight on Contender or like a debut fight, like, dude, that is a black mark you do not want on your record. That's like you showing them like you just don't give a shit. Like like if you miss, bro, like get out of here. You didn't even make the prerequisite. You know what I mean, on your job interview. So we're good.
Makes sense.
So it was like, so in my mind, the smarter thing to do would be like, hey, can I get on maybe can we do it like at the end of Contender? But in my mind, I didn't want to be like, I don't know. I just wanted to fight still. So I was like, nah, how about just tell him I want to fight at 170 on this one. Like, manager's like, you sure? And he's like, you want to be a welterweight in the UFC? And I was like, we'll figure it out when we get there, but let's just do it. Cause I don't want to miss this opportunity. I want to fight. Took the fight at 170. The guy they bring back, I was like, of course, he's a monster. Arguably the toughest dude they've ever put on Contender Series.
Wow.
Ever.
Yeah, he looked really good.
The guy had over 100 pro fights, bro.
Whoa. Oh, yeah. I remember that. Yeah.
The guy's like monster, bro. Like 100 pro striking fights, 25 pro MMA, and a black belt in jiu-jitsu.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like he's a killer, bro. Yeah. And honestly, like, but I was down for it. I was like, okay, like that's a tall task. I'm undersized. He's got a 9-inch reach on me. He's probably gonna have 20 pounds on me. You know what I mean? It's gonna be nasty, but I knew I could get it done. I'm a better grappler. I'm a better wrestler. I knew if I could, if I could impose my will, I could do it. And so I was like, let's do it. And I took the fight, and I knew, as soon as I took the fight and we started training, all of a sudden my body started healing and the weight started coming off, and I started getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And I was like, oh shit, like I should have taken this at 55. But what are you going to do at that point? It's too late. So you go out there and you do your job, which I did. I went in there and it's probably like 182 pounds in the cage, 183 pounds in the cage.
Damn.
Right. Which is like a few pounds heavier than I am when I make 55 in the cage. So, I was just undersized. And honestly, dude, the most frustrating thing about it was that I still could have won that fight. I won the first round. I did everything I wanted to do. I scored the takedown. I landed shots. Everything was going good. And I just made a mistake that allowed him to like get to his feet. And then I rushed my next move, and he ended up landing a weird punch in my eye that broke the inside of my eye socket, essentially, like the bone that your eye sits on. It collapsed it. So I couldn't see out of my right eye anymore. And then at that point, the guy's very high level striker, and with 2 eyes, it's a tall task to strike with the guy. With 1 eye, it was pretty tough, as you guys saw if you watched the fight.
Yeah.
He ended up tagging me with a shot I didn't see, and I ended up losing that fight. But that was like probably one of the most aggravating and like low moments of my career, you know, of
It was
like,
your first fight, your first loss.
yeah, first loss
First loss.
ever in front of Dana White in a main event on Contender
Yeah.
Series, biggest stage in the world. Just told your story. You've called for this. You've asked for this multiple times. They gave it to you. Fucking lost. Fuck. You know what I mean? Like, and now I'm sitting here like, and all this unit, oh, it was 170 and I was this. But at the end of the day, you lost. And all that means, and all that anybody's ever going to remember on your record is that number on the right side. You know, and to me, that's why for me, I go into every fight like do or die. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter. No circumstance matters. It matters if you win or you lose. And it's the most brutal part about the sport. You know what I mean? There's no like, you know, like there's just not a lot of recognition for like doing a good job most of the time. Fight, you know, having, you know, going that way and me sitting there with, you know, essentially like a collapsed, it's an orbital bone. If you guys have heard of an orbital break, right? So it was an orbital break. I got suspended, obviously, like, yeah, you can't get punched for a significant amount of time. And so it wasn't only like, okay, like I just took the first loss of my career against a fight that I was supposed to lose, but that I feel like I could have won. But it's all on me. You know what I mean? I made the decision to go up. I made the decision to execute that instead of this. You know what I mean? In my life, and the reason I'm here is extreme accountability at the end of the day. Like, I don't put blame on anybody. I don't care if this dude screwed me because I let him be in a position to screw me, and I got to learn that lesson to not let that happen again. You know, I am the captain of my ship, and I am responsible for my ship. No matter what happens to that ship in any way, shape, or form, it's on me. So make sure the crew's in order, everything else. Like that's the way I operate my life. I don't go, oh man, this guy did this, or what if I could have? No, dude, like you made a decision and you got to own it. So fix it. And for me, it was, okay, you need to go. And I entertain that maybe I'll stay up at 170. I can live a more comfortable lifestyle. I don't have to do these crazy weight cuts and, you know, hire these nutritionists. And no, dude, you can do that and you can be good. Like, honestly, dude, I could get into the UFC at 170 if I kept fighting 170 and I could win fights there. But that top echelon of big, long, strong dudes, that's what I am at 155. You know what I'm saying? And I'd rather be that. You know, I felt that in that fight. And, you know, while it was a really hard experience, no, it was like I said, dude, my whole life, dude, I've dreamed of this since I was in prison, dude. I've dreamed of this since I was a kid, to be honest with you. I've dreamed of that moment and having it go well. So like to have it not go well was just like earth shattering almost. Just like, I felt like I dropped the ball so hard, you know what I mean? And it was like my fault. I knew it's like I said, it's my fault. You know what I mean? Like, so.
How long were you in that kind of, you know, that pit of despair, that lowest low?
Until I knocked that guy out 6 weeks ago.
Okay. So
yeah, it's really hard, you know, and I've already had a couple losses in my, you know, and so I could relate to what he felt, you know, what he felt at that moment. And especially because like I remember my first loss was I was fighting my fourth fight in the UFC against the first champion, you know, and I was like, and I just like I was, you know, I don't know, you know, it was hot shit. I was like, I want to, you know, I'm not gonna lose. I don't see myself losing. So it was hard. It was devastating. I remember I went through a really hard time because I had to sit out for a while after my first loss, and for him, it's like, yeah, he had a you know, fractured orbital, which is what I had before too in a fight. And I just tell us down, but I could like also tell him that, you know, this doesn't last forever and this is a part of it. And it's just like these are the tests that you're gonna get. Just similar to how when I broke my forearm, how bad do you want it? How much are you willing to endure to just keep going? But I think what also helped in the end of it, because he knew no matter what, even though he had lost that fight, that wasn't like the end of it. If anything, like almost like lit some more fire like underneath your butt to like just keep going, you know?
Mhm.
But I think what also helped is like 2 weeks after his fight, we went to UFC Noche, which was supposed to September 16th. I was supposed to originally fight at that fight card, but I ended up not being able to because I was injured. But anyways, at the end of the night, we went to go meet some friends there, and we were at one of the New York, at one of the bars there. And Sean Shelby, the matchmaker, the one who gave me my contract years ago, was there. Who is also the matchmaker for the UFC for Contenders, who gave Mitch the shot for Contenders. Well, we ran into him there. They pretty much chopped it up like that. Like 2 weeks after his fight, he was able to talk to the matchmaker face to face.
And
And
I'd seen him
so,
before. Like, I'd seen him, like, because
yeah,
like we live in Vegas, so I know who the guy is. But it's like I'm never gonna be the guy that goes and like bugs the guy who's, you know what I mean? Like the last thing I want to be is that
Yeah,
guy.
but he
So
pretty much told him like, "Hey, like you are on our radar. We understand that you were undersized when we, and just giving him that insight, which like most people are not gonna have that insight
yeah,
straight from a matchmaker, someone who's on the inside already.
yeah,
And so for him, they told him like, "Hey, like you're a good prospect. We love the way you talk, the way you're on your mic. Go to LFA. We need you to keep fighting. Your opportunity's gonna come. You're there. Either you're gonna get a short notice, but like stay ready." And
yeah.
so I feel
Wow.
like
Is that
that.
motivating to you?
Oh
Yeah,
yeah. Well,
that's
he
big
told me.
motivating.
I don't even know what I said. I think I was just like, I was like, hey man, I just thanked him. I said, thank you for the opportunity, because I've been shouting for this opportunity for so long. You guys finally gave it to me, which I really appreciate. And I also said like, I hope I didn't, make you guys feel disrespected or anything in a kind of way. I figured that you guys like that type of like, go for it kind of thing. So that was my intention. Hope I didn't piss anybody off with doing that. Just know that I've always wanted to do this. I've always wanted to fight in the UFC. This is my dream. I'm not stopping, but, I'm going back down to 55. That's not my weight class. Kind of just like, he's like, yeah, we know. He's like, honestly, as soon as you stepped in there, I was like, that's a 55er and that's a 70 pounder. The mistake I made in that fight was I wanted to be exciting. I had the guy on the ground. I had him controlled. And rather than settling on him and letting him like burn himself out trying to get up and then taking him back down, which was what the plan was, let him think he's going to get away and take him down again, and let him think he's going to take down again until he breaks. And then I'm going to hammer him to pieces. That was the plan. But instead I took him down while he had all of his fortitude on him and started trying to hit him. And I lost my position and he got away from me, right? Because I didn't want to just lay on him, right? It's a Contender series fight. I don't just want to lay on him. When it's like at the end of the day, dude, you need to win this fight and you're undersized and you're up against it. And I should have just laid on the guy and waited for him to get tired and been boring. You know what I mean? Honestly, maybe not. But
Yeah. I mean,
at the end of the day, I got my face broken for my trouble. So maybe I should have. But, looking back on it, it was like, okay, like it's one thing to be exciting. It's one thing to be stupid. You can settle for 30 seconds. You don't need all, you know what I'm saying? Like you can get a warning and then go, you don't have to, you know what I mean? You can be smarter about this. You don't have to, I think I fought too emotionally, so while the loss sucked, it was like so necessary for me to be where I am right now and as good as I am right now. Because it just changed. Like I said, it changed my whole perspective. That high level of a fight against that high level of an opponent, having the success obviously builds confidence in that, but also like the knowing that like I should have won that. I legitimately could have won that fight. Like I know I could have won that fight. When I felt him, I knew I could beat him there. Like that was a fair fight. The best guy I've ever fought, and he's like, mark my words, that guy he fights here in like February, I think he fights this month in the UFC in his debut. He'll be somebody, dude. He's really good.
Really?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's really good.
That's what people keep saying.
Yeah, he's really good. And aside from that, you know what I mean? Everybody's really good at this point. But once you touch the top of that mound and you realize like, oh yeah, we're good. Honestly, that wasn't even a hard punch he hit me with, dude. It was this little knuckle that went in my eyeball. Like I remember feeling it and being like, oh, I thought he poked me. You know what I mean? It wasn't like, boom, you rocked me. And you know what I mean? Like it was like this dumb little punch and the knuckle went literally, like I had a bruise on my eyelid from where it hit my eyeball. Like it was like this, like boom, like dude. And it was like, I can remember when it happened and being like, oh, and immediate double vision, like a broken TV on this side. Like it was like super messed up and out of focus. And then talking to them and then saying that too, it was like basically told me, hey, look, make weight, go down your weight class, make weight and get a win and we'll find a spot for you. So literally everybody was like, wait, no, you have a broken orbital. If you get punched again, you might have to have a surgery. And everybody, honestly, she wanted me to wait.
I was worried.
My sponsors wanted me to wait. Everybody wanted me to wait.
My orbital before, and
Yeah.
you don't want to lose your eye. Like
That's literally
I've
that
been
is
through
consequence
it,
of
like
that.
because I knew what it felt like. Like I've like I said, just seeing double vision and just like they're trying to figure out whether you need surgery or not, and like this dude went to go see a specialist like 2 weeks like a week after his fight. They're like, yeah, you fractured it. You might need surgery. You might not. We'll see. We'll come in 2 weeks later. Comes in. They didn't even like do another imaging. They're like, how do you feel? Do you still see double vision? No, cool. All right, well, you're good then.
I was like,
I'm
sweet,
like, dude, like, no, like this is it. Like this is like
That's
a
dope.
normal person recovery. Like you're gonna go get punched in the eye again. Like you got to make sure that get another imaging to make sure that you're clear. And they're like, nah, I'm good. And I was like, all right, well, I mean, don't listen to me then,
Literally, everybody was like, don't do it. And I was like, nah, dude, I'm doing it.
Yeah,
like I gotta get another
I'm
freaking
glad,
fight in. I'm pissed,
You went in there and dominated.
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah, I just was like, and it was like on the wire, dude. Honestly, like I signed that fight. First day I was cleared to spar again, and I wore my headgear, and it went pretty well, right? I didn't have any eye issues in the rounds. that next day is the day I got the contract for the fight in like 6 weeks. Right. So it was like I mean, that was like on the wire. Like if anything goes wrong, like you're gonna have to pull out. I went back to my old self, dude. You know, I feel like one of my mistakes in the camp in the fight that I lost was I passed the responsibility. Like I said, you know, like I am the captain of my ship. And if you give the reins to the first mate and he AWOLs you or screws up and your ship crashes, it's still your ship. You know, so like that's your fault. You know, you chose the wrong man or whatever else. And I just felt like I wasn't vocal for what I needed in that camp. And when things weren't going the way that I needed them to, I didn't correct them. I kind of just like let it play out and just kind of like tried to like compartmentalize me. Like it'll be fine. Okay, I'm going to go work with this guy and I'm going to work with this guy, but I know I'm not doing enough of this. And I know I'm not getting enough of this because this guy's gone and that guy's gone. And now it was just like a lot of chaos in my camp with like coaches traveling. And, you know, I'm on a big team, so there's a lot of stuff going on. I just knew that I wasn't preparing like I should. And the way I needed to. And I just like, I could feel it. But I just knew that I was going to just go in there and do my best at the end of the day with what I was doing, what I had. At this point in my career, dude, I will do what I need to do to win and I will be successful. And I don't have to ask anybody's permission and I don't report to fucking anybody but me at the end of the day. I'm the one that straps these gloves on and fights people. You know what I mean? I'm the one that has to wake up in the morning and run those miles and only eat that broccoli and only, you know what I mean? And go to bed at 9 and not go and hang out and not do these things. Like that's my life. So I'm not sacrificing that to let somebody else be the one that gives either that final 1% or not. Like I'm the 100%, you know, is what I realized. And like all my success in my career to this point has been extreme accountability of like, I don't care if I coach can't make it, dude. I'll figure it out. I flipped it back on myself. You know, I went back to who I was when I first got out of prison when nobody believed in me and I didn't have anything. And I was just an ex-convict that was trying to be something different that honestly nobody believed. You know what I'm saying? And that was the mentality I put myself in was like, nobody gives a shit, dude. You're only as good as your last fight. You know what I mean? You could fuck this up. This is not a guarantee. You can absolutely, you can drop the ball, dude. You can really drop the ball here and you can go right back to who you were like that. And you better never forget that shit. That's where I've been, you know, and I'm grateful to be here, you know, obviously here on the podcast and everything, but just grateful to be in the space of having come through that, I guess. Because the last time I was here, I was still in a good spot and everything, but I feel like that loss literally transformed me in a way of like, okay, dude, like, I don't know, dude. It just changed me, dude. You go through that, dude. I don't know, with all the other things I've been through to feel like it was just like, oh, it was so intense to lose that fight for me.
It felt like a defining moment.
This last fight was definitely, and people don't realize too, like that fight was the LFA feature fight. This is our biggest feeder organization. You're fighting at the Palms, right? It's on UFC Fight Pass. You know, you're fighting an undefeated guy, you know, who really thinks he can beat you, you know, and everybody's watching. You know what I mean? So it was almost honestly, it was more pressure than my Contender Series fight.
Interesting.
I felt more pressure going into this last one than in the Contender Series because I dropped the ball and I knew I was mortal now. Does that make sense?
Yes,
like I knew 100%. I was mortal. I knew if I zig instead of zag, I can be killed, you know, like it'd gone bad. So now I understand that, you know, and that's the way I look at cage fighting. Honestly, dude, like you get finished in there, you died, bro. If this is 2,000 years ago, that's a death. So I've suffered death.
That's so true.
That's what I'm serious.
True,
like, dude, if there's no ref there, you just die.
Gladiator. Yep.
You just
Gladiator
died.
shit.
And you know, so at this point in the game, I've killed 13 and I've died once. It's like, but we get to respawn because there's refs.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
We respawn. That's the cool part, right?
So
we don't have to, it's not ancient Rome, dude. It's not over when they throw the thumb down now.
That's so true.
You know, but that's the truth though.
Bro, that mindset is going to take you so far that life is happening for you versus life is happening to you.
Yeah. No,
it's
seriously.
It's going to take you so far. And I think that's what Cynthia talks about too. People are like, you didn't go to prison. You're too motivational. You're too positive to have gone through something like that, you know, because most people will let that define them for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
You know, God didn't give you that lesson, bless you with that lesson to grow from it. Somebody caused that to happen. And now poor me, victim mindset, right?
Yeah.
Victimhood. My life is so shitty because my mom or my dad and that's why this is so pleasurable to talk to you guys, because from your end, the way that you talk about your parents, although they were not perfect, they were a gift for you.
Tried their best and they showed me, you know, just resiliency. But I think it's like, you know, with life, it's like there's a saying like in the Stoics, it's like amor fati, which is like love of fate.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, basically, it's like you can decide to be, you know, the victim of it, or you can just love everything that you learn to love what you have in front of it and understand that that's a growing point, and that's how you're going to get to the next level of your life. Or you can say treading water and stay in the same place and just feel sorry for yourself and drown,
Yeah.
you know? Or you can just find beauty in the struggle,
Yeah.
you know, and understand that, like, look at it in a different perspective. Like, okay, I have this problem in front of me, but God, I'm gonna be so much better when I get through it versus if I avoid it and I do something else just to numb the pain or forget about it.
Yeah.
Because it just gets worse, right? It becomes a deeper hole.
Yeah.
But
It's
if
like,
you gotta keep fighting. You gotta be fighting. You gotta choose, you know, whether are you gonna be a victim or you're gonna be a fighter. And that's just something you gotta hold with yourself for the rest of your life.
What's the alternative?
No matter what. Like,
no,
yeah,
honestly.
What's the alternative? You
that's
die?
what I'm saying.
Yeah.
You can choose. You can choose. You can, you know, two people who have the same path, go through the same shit, have the same problems, have a whole different mentality. One person can still be happier than the other, you know, just depending on what your mindset is, when your perspective is in life. So you gotta always constantly work. You gotta figure out how are you gonna keep leveling up in life with different perspectives, different types of tools, and you gotta continue to have those aspirations and keep trying, because then, like, you're not gonna regret doing that for yourself, but you are gonna regret not trying hard enough and trying to deal with your problems head on. Just, you know, making that commitment with yourself and what type of lifestyle you want to have. You know, do you want to be miserable and, you know, and just like lean into the darkness, or do you want to have a better perspective and learn how to better yourself and be able to like help people? So your purpose is to go through that shit and be able to help everybody else who's coming up underneath you. It's hard at the time when we're going through it, but then once we overcome that and we've like kind of become into the person that we are, you know, truly meant to be, like we find purpose and like understanding that we're going to be here to help so many people, you know, like just like a couple weeks ago we both went to middle school, Gunderson High School,
Uh-huh.
and here in Vegas in the Southwest area. And you know, we both went to go talk to kids, you know, and told our story, and we were able to like relate with them, you know. And it's just
That's
like
probably super fulfilling.
it is, you know what I mean? It's like it's I love that we get to do that together. That we both have like a crazy awesome stories in different ways, because like more so me, I get to relate to more like women and, you know, the girls, and like he's gets to relate to a lot of the young guys that have been through the same stuff. So it's like it's really cool to be able to go there and we both can hit each part. Like, you know, I can cover
Yeah,
the
that is
girls.
cool.
Some of them, like when I'm saying something, they're not there, and then as soon as she like, it's like the like different different flavors a little
That's
bit, you
cool.
know, and like different kind of focuses, you know, of like, you know, what our stories are, but like but similar, you know. So we both are people that enjoy helping people at the end of the day too, you know. And that's why I think like I said, like we're the same type of fighter. You know, the motivation for fighting comes from like, okay, like I'm not just like, I'm like, for me, you know, and I'll speak for myself. Like when I fight and I get on that mic and I say that stuff, like none of that is written out. I've never written a script. I didn't write a note for this. I've never written a note for a single speech I've ever done, other than like bullet points that I don't look at when I'm up there. That I completely forget about. Everything you've ever seen me do on a microphone is completely off the cuff, because it's genuine. It's my story and it's my truth, and that's all it needs to be. And like, yeah, like, okay, like it's good to like, you know, get bullet points out and figure out what you're talking about if you're doing like a longer speech and things like that. But like these moments, it's just me being honest of how I feel, why I'm doing this. And a big part of that is like, man, I have been I've been in multiple times in my life of like not wanting to exist. You know what I'm saying? Like so miserable and just in such a state, whether it was drug addiction or prison or whatever else, where it's like, I could not see the light at the end of the tunnel. You know, and I know that there's a lot of people that are listening to this that might be in the same situation in their life. And one of the reasons why I share this stuff and why I get on that mic after is because once I took that extreme accountability and I stopped blaming other people and I started realizing like, no, I am a symptom of my own shit.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like I'm putting myself in these situations and they're going badly. So stop putting yourself in these situations, figure it out. You know, that was when my life changed and started to change. And I started to be able to not just see the end of the tunnel, but now I've had some of the most insane, gratifying, beautiful moments, like life moments that I feel like a lot of people never get to feel that level of like, you did it, dude. Like you accomplished something that scared you, you know, and it's continuing. And it's only, you know, and for me, it's like, I'm only going to keep going further with it. But I just know that I'm not like, I am who I am. You know what I mean? We all have our talents and our things, but like everybody does.
Yes.
And everybody can feel this, like the way that I felt from where I felt. Like, so if you're like in a spot where you can't see the end of the tunnel, but you can just get yourself to put one foot in front of the other, you know, and you can start to work towards something honestly and hold yourself accountable, truly accountable, you know, you can reach a level of like accomplishment and joy and fulfillment that you can't even understand. you know, and I just want people to feel that. Like really, I want other guys and girls like me that have been kicked when they were down and been, you know, shouldn't have made it. I want them to feel the happiness that I've been able to attain that I didn't think I could ever attain. And that's why I grabbed that mic. And that's why I say I've been to fucking prison. I've shot heroin. I've done all this shit. I've done terrible things. I've done good things, but I love my life now. And I really love helping people, you know?
Yeah.
So that's my message, man, is your life can change in ways that you don't even understand if you're just willing to be brave and look at yourself honestly.
That's powerful. You guys are both inspirational and motivational. Also, I just want to thank you guys for taking this Friday night and coming and you know, on a short notice to do this podcast. It was awesome. This was a great experience for me. I'm sure everyone listening is going to say the same thing and watching. What do you guys have going on? Cynthia, you have a fight coming up.
Yeah, I'm about 9 weeks out. I'm fighting April 6th here in Vegas at the Apex. So I'm really stoked, dude. I'm like in it, just grinding. You know, we had a long day, but I'm happy that we were able to come in and come talk to you and just like share a story, you know. So it's always a good way to just sit still because we're always just moving,
Yeah.
just moving.
And no one would have been able to tell that you guys came off of 2 days. You had 2 a day? You had
Yeah, I
two
had
trainings
two
today?
training sessions, and we also
Shit.
just like turned
Yeah.
in our last
Yeah, we
place.
moved.
We moved.
Oh, shoot.
So I
Just
just turned in the keys,
Yeah.
went home,
Dang,
ate,
you
and then
guys are
come straight
awesome.
here.
Yeah.
So we've been grinding, dude. But you know, I love it. You know, sometimes you know you gotta stay busy. You know, because otherwise, you know, if you don't work hard, you're gonna have shit going on. Life's not gonna be worth it.
100%. 100%. Yeah. What about you? What you got going on?
As of right now, nothing booked, but hoping to fight. We're in the process of trying to book a fight for either March or April, with the intention of just, you know, where I'm at in my career is just, I'm just going to keep fighting. At the end of the day, I'm a professional fighter. I'm pretty freaking good at this, and I just need to fight. So I'll be fighting 3 to 4 times a year for the rest of my career, you know, and that's what it's going to be. And if it's here, if it's there, it doesn't matter. But this next one I think will probably be for the LFA again.
Okay.
They were saying that they want to match me again, so probably March or April. And then hopefully, you know, I never wish ill fate upon anybody, but, you know, a lot of the times guys get hurt training for fights, they get sick training for fights, and then they need replacements. And there's a lot of Las Vegas UFC cards coming up in the next few months. So
Okay.
I'll be ready. If somebody gets sick, somebody drops out, your man's going to answer the call and get himself a contract. So that's the plan.
Let's go. Where can people find you, Mitch?
Instagram is what I'm mostly on, at Mitch_Ramirez.
What about you, Cynthia?
I'm on Instagram, Cyththia.Calvillo. I'm also on Facebook, Cynthia Calvillo. And then TikTok, I just go on whatever he shows me. Like
You're not on TikTok.
no, dude. Like I am not.
I'm sure
not-
you even got a hashtag. If we looked up your name on a hashtag, I'm sure you probably got a ton of posts. People like posting about you on TikTok.
I mean, I know how TikTok has
Yeah.
gotten like so big, and like I just haven't got into it. I think that I'm just not great with social media, and I don't want to get addicted to keep getting addicted to social media because people get addicted to it, you know?
100%.
Because I catch myself all the time.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be looking at videos all the time, but then I
That's
was
all-
like, if I get TikTok, then I was like, dude, that's gonna take that's gonna add another 4 hours. You know what I mean? Like
100%.
I'm just gonna become a vegetable.
That's why you got to make a commitment to create and not consume.
I
Yeah.
know.
Create, not
Don't
consume.
get high off
We
your
need
own
to-
supply.
100%.
We need to
Yeah.
structure it out. Honestly, I feel like we're both people that we do well with structure. When we don't have structure, like we have the hyper focus, we also got the ADHD.
Yeah.
we need
So it's like,
organization.
Dude, I'll go to oh, this post is gonna be sick, and then a week later, I'm like,
look,
oh yeah, that
squirrel.
draft. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
That's where
shoot.
TikTok gets you, bro.
Yeah.
As soon as you open it, it's just you get
It's the
sucked in,
dog
like, I'm gonna
videos.
post. Oh wait, what was I doing?
Well, you know what? I'm gonna think about this
Dude.
caption for a second.
The-
2 weeks later.
And he's like, hey, research this hashtag strategy for me, right? And I was like, okay. And I'm like reading it, and then he looks over and he's like, you f***ing got sucked in.
It's so hard not to.
It's
so
dude,
hard not to.
they
Yeah, yeah.
they know what they're
doing.
doing.
Yeah, yeah.
They know what they're doing, dude.
And not in a good way.
Yeah,
Not in a good
no,
way
yeah,
either, for sure.
Trolling everybody.
Give me anxiety.
Algorithms, dude.
All right, guys. Thank you again for coming on. And you guys listening, watching, if we brought you any value today, please like, subscribe, and share this episode with anyone that you think is going to get value from these two superstars, packed with motivation, inspiration. Until next time, peace.